Great guy. I really like him. I think he just needs to slow down just a little bit. He kind of oversells a little bit for me, you know what I mean? But relax, Xavier. It's going to be all right, player.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of the Wrestling Time Machine by Sportskeeda. Of course, you can find us right here on WrestleBinge on YouTube or wherever you download your favorite podcast. I'm your host, Mac Davis, and joining me with me this week is somebody who's always with me, and that is WWE Hall of Famer, my tag team partner, Mr. Teddy Long. Hey, Teddy.
Hey, what's going on there, Maxer? Glad to be with you. Really miss Bill. Really glad that, he's having a good time. I think you said something about he's out of the country and with the wife.
He's out of his mind is where he is, Teddy. He's out of his mind.
Well, that might be a country, too, out of his mind.
Yeah, for those of you watching and wondering, Bill Apter is on a special assignment right now, but he will be back, I believe, on the next show.
He ain't on no special assignment.
That's what we always say when we're at the strip clubs, Teddy. I'm on special assignment.
Well, he ain't in the strip club. He's over there trying to be Mr. Nice Guy with his wife and family, and I know that he's really having a hell of a time.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I wish I were having that same time. But Teddy, this past week, brother, in Georgia, for all of you who are watching or listening right now that have been affected by Hurricane Helene, I can feel for you. Anybody, I swear to you, I have been through hurricanes in Savannah, Georgia when I grew up. When I was in Florida, I've been through hurricanes. It's nothing unusual to me, but to have a storm, I live in the middle of the state of Georgia. So this hurricane came all the way up, reached into middle Georgia with top winds of 110 miles per hour. The damage around here is just unbelievable. Trees down everywhere. In fact, you had a hard time even driving around because the trees were down, power lines everywhere, the tops of homes gone. The things in Asheville, North Carolina. Oh my God, they just about got wiped off the map by the storm, by the rains and the flooding. Just incredible. And Teddy, last week I missed a couple of shows I was supposed to do. I had no power. I was without power for several days, and there's still people now with no power. And that means no showers in a lot of cases and no food. And so it's been just one hell of a storm.
Who needs to take a shower?
Yeah. Well, I asked my wife that, and she quickly responded, "You do."
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
All right, let's talk wrestling here. Looks like the New Day may split up soon. Xavier Woods turning heel probably. And any stories, Teddy, with Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston from the New Day?
No, not really. I remember Kofi when he first broke in. He came down to Deep South Wrestling when Deep South was running, and he was part of that group. And I met Kofi down there and had a chance to talk to him. And I saw it then when I saw him way back then, and he'll tell you this. You can ask Kofi. I told him, I said, man, you're going to be okay. I said, you got it. I said, just slow down, take your time and listen. And I think you'll be okay. And he also came back and thanked me for that. He didn't never forget about it. Xavier, great guy. I really like him. I think he just needs to slow down just a little bit. He kind of oversells a little bit for me, you know what I mean? But relax, Xavier. It's gonna be all right, player. So, but other than that, just two great, outstanding people, man. Xavier and Kofi.
Yeah, Kofi, I'm trying to remember if it was on the Raw brand or SmackDown brand when he and Randy Orton were kind of feuding each other, and Kofi got on top of a car with a sledgehammer and was just beating the crap out of his car. And I love that angle. In fact, this is the point where I really thought Kofi was going to be big time, big champion and everything else. And it kind of cooled off. That's the thing with Kofi I've noticed. Even the New Day pretty much is the same way. They win, they lose. They win, they lose. They get them hot, they get them cold. Is that something that happens quite a bit in wrestling, Teddy?
Well, yeah, they may be right now considered as mid-card guys. You know what I mean? And their job is to put guys over and to make guys look good. And then in the process, you can also make yourself look good, too. And I have to always give this to Chris Jericho. Okay, I always have to let people know. You could beat Chris Jericho 1, 2, 3 right in the middle. I mean, no screw job and nothing, right in the middle. And I can tell you, he'll get right up from it and get his heat back, and the people forget about he ever lost.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what you got to learn how to do, is to take care of you, protect yourself. And Chris Jericho is one of the best. He can do that. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Big E of the New Day. We see him occasionally as a commentator on the shows lately since his injury. Do you think we'll ever see Big E back in the ring again?
Well, that's going to kind of be left up to Big E and his doctors. He's on that, maybe I guess that list is, I don't know whether he's cleared or not. Or he may be where, Big E, it's up to you. You take your chances. I think Kurt Angle did that. I think he had been advised not to wrestle anymore. And if I can remember, I think that was with Edge also, that he had been advised to not compete anymore. And him and Kurt both, they got back in the ring. They took their chances. So
I did the same thing, which is funny, Teddy, because I had my neck, had surgery on it from wrestling. And after the surgery, the doctor was very clear. You don't need to get back in there anymore after this. I still got back in there for a few more matches because of the love of the business. And we talk about this all the time. Sometimes there's got to be somebody that stops the talent from hurting themselves. Is there somebody like that you remember in WWE that would pull the guys back and go, hey, look, no, you don't need to be doing this?
Taker would always walk when guys did stuff that really wasn't called for, or you shouldn't even be doing it. Taker would always go up and let them know, why are you doing that? You shouldn't be doing that. He was always a guy that would go out to the ring. He would sit there and he would watch matches. And when he saw something wrong, he would get up and go and talk to the guys and help them out. He always done that.
There's somebody else. You were talking about him sitting at the curtain and just watching the matches. I remember going to independent shows here in Georgia, and Ron Simmons would be on some of those cards, and you would always find Ron sitting at the curtain, watching the matches, and telling the guys when they came back, if they asked, what they thought, about his match. And he'd be straight up honest with them, tell them what he thought, and that was it. To see someone spend that kind of time in independent wrestling that came from the big leagues, that's now sitting there trying to help the guys. If you go through the curtain and Ron Simmons is sitting there, been watching your match, and you don't ask his thoughts about your match, you miss a hell of an opportunity.
Well, I've been with Ron on several shows, and I've watched guys walk right by me and him both. I mean, you got to ask me. Wow. They don't think I know anything, but I probably know more than they'd ever even dreamed of.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, like I said, there are people there that are concerned about, their work. I've had guys, like I said, I've had guys to stop. I'll tell you a very good story here. This past couple of weeks back, when Ron and I were both at the SmackDown show there in Seattle, Carmella Hayes was come up, and no, he was already talking to Ron, and I come up and spoke to Carmella and Ron, and I remember him standing there, and he was telling Ron, he said, Ron, you remember you gave me some advice back, blah, 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 back when or something, and he was thanking him for it, and Carmella Hayes was one of those guys.
That's cool. I'm glad to see that still exists, because in a world where you hear so many negative stories in the locker rooms, especially in AEW, where they're not listening to the older guys that can teach them things and actually help them quite a bit, but they know it all, and that's what they don't need that help. So
sometimes you have to do this too. This is a different world and different era now.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can go to some of the older guys, and some of those guys are kind of stuck in their ways. And what I mean about that is when you go up to them to try to get some advice, they start cussing. God damn it, man! Why not? You know what I mean? So you did that back in the day. You know what I mean? That means you get ready for it. You go get chewing out once. You know what I mean? But you can't do that now to some of the young talent, because you start cussing at them. Sometimes that puts fear in them. They're scared of you. And then some of them ain't gonna let you talk to them like that.
And some of them start crying probably too.
Well, you just never know, you know what I mean? So it's just the way, you approach. I've learned that, you know what I mean? I've heard all my life through wrestling. As soon as something happens, God, you know what I mean? So I kind of try to stay away from that. I'll talk to a guy and tell him. And like I said, the last time I think I had to talk to somebody were two girls on the show in Waco, Texas is where I was that night. And I just walked up to him and I just told him, I said, I hope y'all don't get mad at me. I said, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I said, it was horrible.
I've seen you do that before. I saw you do that in St. Louis. We were doing I think it was the Hall of Fame we were at, and they had a show, and we were watching the matches. And after one of the matches, you wanted to go in the back and say something to him. And Teddy, again, he just wants to help. But he got back there. What the hell are you doing? Like, you kind of let him know, well, this is crazy why you're doing this. And I can see some of them freaking out behind him like, oh, shit, Teddy's giving him the riot act. Teddy wasn't giving the riot act. And the person taking the criticism knew exactly what Teddy was doing. He was giving him constructive criticism from somebody that knows.